Have you ever been told your labs are normal, but you feel exhausted? You feel foggy. You're dealing with night sweats that are keeping you up at night, and you cannot lose weight no matter what you try. You are not imagining it, and that's what we're talking about today. Why this happens, what is likely getting missed in your basic labs, and how to get real answers. This is something I hear from my midlife women clients on a daily basis. My doctor said everything is normal. So why do I feel so awful? And what's frustrating is they begin to question themselves, believe that they're failing their plan. And worse yet, they think that is it all in my head? What is normal when it comes to labs? Normal is lab ranges that can be quite large, and that can mean that you're going to feel just as good if you're on the very low end as you are on the very high end. That's not often the case. The other thing is these lab ranges are based off of statistical averages, not optimal health. So what does normal mean? If you fall in that large reference range, you're not yet in a disease state. However, before disease sets in, you go through functional imbalances, and that's where our symptoms come into the picture. And so that's where we have to look at tighter ranges within those larger ranges. So what is often missed when we are looking at labs? If you're going to an annual physical with a conventional doctor and you get blood work done, it's typically basic labs. And so we oftentimes miss the common hormonal and metabolic shifts that are happening during midlife. Let's look at some examples. So for instance, thyroid. So our thyroid gland is a butterfly gland right in the neck area, and it is responsible for energy production and weight management, both which are challenged in midlife, aren't they? And the symptoms of low thyroid function mimic that of perimenopause and menopause. So it's hard to parse out unless we have actual labs and the full lab panel. And so we want to look at the whole panel. So the TSH, like if you go to your doctor and you say, I want my thyroid tested, they're going to do what's called a TSH or thyroid reflex. So you get TSH. TSH is a very large range, like I talked about for a lot of our conventional labs. And so if that's in that reference range, it never goes to the rest of the pathways. We want to see how the thyroid is performing throughout the whole pathway. So your TSH is just your brain telling your thyroid to make hormone, and that has an inverse relation. So if it is high, your thyroid function is low. And really, a lot of labs will go up to like 4.2 or 4.5, but anything above 2 is suboptimal. And then we need to know what free T4 is. That's the primary hormone produced by the thyroid gland, but it's a storage hormone. It needs to be converted in our liver and kidneys into T3, and that is up to 5+ times more metabolically active. And then we need the antibody. So TPO, thyroid peroxidase antibody, and thyroglobulin. The majority of thyroid dysfunction, especially in midlife, is autoimmune in nature, but we're missing it because we're never looking at the autoimmune antibodies. And you can see that I have the free T4, free T3, because our hormones are bound to proteins. There's very little that are free and bioavailable to be used at the cell level to do their job. So you do want to get those free levels. Insulin resistance. In midlife, we are 2 to 3 times more likely to be insulin resistant. Yet we're never testing fasting insulin. If we do, the range goes up to 25, but optimal is 5 to 6. So really anything above 10 is showing us that we're probably insulin resistant. And what happens when we're insulin resistant? We are storing fat in the midsection. We're going to have those energy crashes. We're going to have those sugar cravings midday. And we need to catch that proactively. Because if we're testing anything in a metabolic panel, we see a fasting glucose. That's just one snapshot in time. Or maybe we look at a hemoglobin A1C, which is your 2 to 3 month average of blood sugar, which is a good gauge, but your blood sugar doesn't go up until 10, 15 years after your insulin has been elevated. So we want to be proactive and catch it on the front end so we can do a lot about it. Stress response. So stress response, we know in midlife we are less stress resilient. It takes just a little stressor to throw us over the edge. We feel completely overwhelmed. It is hard to recover and it's hard to deal with those things. And so if we're looking at cortisol in blood, again, that's going to be primarily bound to proteins, but it's also just one time. Like most often we're doing a blood draw in the morning. So it's like our one time in the morning draw. Cortisol follows a diurnal pattern. Highest in the morning, slowly declines throughout the day till it's at its lowest point at night. We're not going to see where we may fall off of that diurnal pattern if we're only looking at one value in the blood. So this is typically done through a salivary panel where you can collect your saliva several times throughout the day to see what your cortisol level is, the free and active form. Another thing is nutrients. So we need these nutrients. Vitamin D is really a pro-hormone in the body. That range is 30 to 100, but optimal is 50 to 80. Your red blood cell magnesium. So red blood cell means you're getting a cellular level. That's more of a chronic assessment, like what's in the cell of your nutrient. Magnesium is responsible for well over 300 biochemical functions, helps to calm the brain, the musculoskeletal system, and we want to be on that upper part of that range. Iron and ferritin. So ferritin is your storage form of iron. That range is usually anywhere from 15 to 150. So again, a large range. But optimal is going to be closer to 50 to 150. So we really want to get optimal levels versus just I'm in the range. I'm normal, so to speak. So how do you get these real answers? First, listen to your body. You know your body best. And if you've got symptoms, you do not need to be victimized to that. That is not your destiny. That is telling you a story. That is information saying, hey, I need to dive deeper. I need to learn more. I need to learn the full story. So find somebody who can help partner with you along this journey, who can test different labs, more comprehensive labs, full thyroid panels, insulin, and maybe some more functional labs like that salivary cortisol panel, maybe a stool analysis, maybe a toxin test, and interpret your labs differently, looking for those optimal functions. And realize that even though there might be some optimal versus normal lab ranges, there's a thing called N of 1. N of 1 means that we can have 5 or 10 people, like women in the room, and you all have the same lab value, but you all function differently. So we need to take the biochemical lab values along with your symptoms to determine what is best for you. And if this is of interest to you, I will link below how I can support you along this journey. We can dive deeper together, looking at your labs or finding a practitioner who can. And if you resonate with this topic, like, subscribe, or share this video with a woman that you know could benefit from hearing the same message. I hope you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on the other topics, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.